Hello everybody, Edgar Fernandez from Pharma-Chemical Safety Limited, located in Brantford, Ontario, Canada. The topic of today is duty to know. As a professional engineer, one of my duties according to the Code of Ethics is to protect the safety of the public. So how I gonna protect the safety of the public? Well, one of the things is to have knowledge of the Occupational Health and Safety Act of Ontario, as well as if I practiced engineering in another province, I need my duties to know the Occupational Health and Safety Act of that province. For example, if I work in Alberta, my duty is to know the Occupational Health and Safety Act regulations and codes of the province of Alberta. In the subsequent slides, we're going to see the parts that conform this Occupational Health and Safety Act. It's a duty of the employer to train managers, supervisors, or any other person who supervise projects or people. It's mandatory now for the Ministry of Labor to have this training. You can provide this training by talking about of each part of this Health and Safety Act. So therefore, it's very important for professionals, engineers, or any other professionals to know about this act, the content, the rights, the notices, enforcements, etc. So we're going to start. So before the parts of the Health and Safety Act, the book starts with several definitions, um, such as building code, certified member, competent person, hazardous materials, occupational illness, and others. So it's very important to be familiarized with these definitions, especially when you are managing projects, and those projects for sure they have people. You are managing also people as well. So you need to familiarize with these definitions. Part one is the application. Application to Crown, to the other acts, the application to private residences, farming operations, teachers, self-employed persons. It's how this act applies. The second is the administration of the act, the power of the ministers, the Joint Health and Safety Committee, the designations of members, posting of copies of summaries, director to provide information, um, inspections, the schedule of inspections. What is a inspector of the Minister of Labor? Designation of certified members. What minister shall consider? Minister orders. What is an order for the Minister of Labor from the inspector when you have a notice? How the notice works? Notice of accident inspection by representative. Power of representatives. So as you can see, as a professional engineer, when you are managing a construction project, you need to have a Joint Health and Safety Committee, how you designate the members, how you create the summaries, where they need to be posted, what duties or power have the members of the Joint Health and Safety Committee, etc. What is your duties as a project manager? You can have inspections from the Minister of Labor. Maybe if they find something wrong, they're gonna issue an order. How that order works is something that you need to know. The part 2.1 is prevention calls in chief prevention officer and designate entities. So the same talks about how the chair works, chief prevention officer, how they are appointed, what is the occupational health and safety strategy from this chief, and how designate entities, and how change to funding and delivery services. So in other words, is how the inspector, the Minister of Labor, they worked. Part 3, that is very important. What is your duties as an employer and the other persons? So duties of constructor, notice of project, duties of licensees, right? So as you can see, is as a professional engineer, so our duties, our code of ethics, and the definition of engineering is part of this oh&s health and safety. So so we need to follow our own self-regulations. This is created by PEO plus whatever is content in this oh&s Act and regulations. Duty of employer. So you own your own company. You become an employer. So what is your duties? Um, Duties of workers. You have workers. What duties they have? Duties of the supervisor. You are supervising a project or you supervise people. What are your duties? Duties of constructors. We talk about it. Liability. Duties of suppliers, architects, and engineers. Part 3.1, violence and harassment. You need to be familiarized with that as well. Policies of violence and harassment, writing forum postings, training with you. You need to provide training to your employees. They need to be familiar with the policy of violence and harassment. Code of practice point is part 3.1. The other one is 0.1, violence harassment. Part 3.1 is code of practices. Approval of code of practice, regulations, delegations, effect of the publication, the effect of the approved code of practice. Part 4 is toxic substances. So contents of the order, posting the orders when you have a inspection of the Ministry of Labor and found something that is not in compliance with this topic, is going to issue an order. How to proceed to answer that order, matters to be considered. Reporter of assessments, right, for new chemical or new chemical agents or new biological agents. So how we need to report that assessment. Hazard material identification and data sheets. And there are a lot of amendments on that section as well. So we need to familiarize with that. And all there are regulations that they are generated by this part of the act that you need to be familiarized reading by this green book. Sorry. Part 5 is right to refuse or stop work. It's very different with somebody refuse or somebody stop the work. So on this section is gonna describe the process, the steps that we need to follow when somebody refuses to work or when somebody stop the work. It's very different steps, different type of investigations, different approaches, and different scopes. So it's very important to learn that. Part 6 is reprisals by employer prohibited. So non-discipline, dismissals, etc. by the employer, arbitration, referral by inspectors, referral not an order, inquiry by the board. So it's all this information on this part. How to dismiss a worker, discipline or suspend or threaten to discipline or suspend a worker as well, impose any penalty up on a worker. The language of the act is sometimes is very repetitive, but it's because of the legal terms that they are applied to this document. Part 7 is notices. Notice how we're gonna notice of death of injury, notice of the accident, explosion, fires, or violence causing by an injury, or notice of an occupational illness. Part 8 is the powers of the inspector. So it's very comprehensive section. What powers they have, what duties they have, what happened when they issue a warrant or a order, what the contents of the orders are, compliance plan, and the power of inspector to seize, sorry, searching in exigent circumstances, resumption of work pending inspection. So one of the powers that the inspector have actually, they have, it's during if they are walking during the inspection and they found a workstation or an activity that they consider that they can jeopardize the safety of the worker, they have the total authority to stop that work. If there is a workstation, they're gonna lock out the station, and they're gonna ask you for a plan to fix that situation. Could be procedures, training, combination of it. So it's gonna issue an order, and then once you are ready, once you provide that training, once you create that procedure or any other measure that you consider that is gonna fix the situation, you call the inspector. He or she is gonna maybe he's gonna go to your facility to verify, or maybe she or he is going to be satisfied with the information that you send by fax or by mail, and they're gonna allow you to proceed. Um, Part 9 is offenses and penalties. So pretty much how much are the fines from the Minister of Labor, how you need to pay them, um, and how these penalties work. Part 10 is the regulations, how the Minister of Labor or how the government creates regulations, how they advise the industry for a new or modified regulation, an updated regulation, sorry, amendments, how they communicate that. So that's the part of the oh&s Act and regulation. So by the Minister of Labor, actually, the employer is responsible and has a duty to train, like I said at the beginning of this presentation, manager, supervisor, or any other person who manage projects or people. They need to be trained by the employer on these act and regulations, to know their duties, to know their rights, to know how the Minister of Labor works regarding on, like we talk about, enforcement offenses, how they create regulations. It's a duty actually. Um, and that's very important as a professional engineer to know. I talked to to the safety manager or safety director of the company where you work, or you to get this book, the Green Book, and then start reading the content of it, and you you manage projects. You need to be familiarized. I'm pretty sure in some of the projects, maybe you are working at heights. Maybe you're gonna enter in a confined space, um, or you are dealing with combustible dust, flammable liquids, or you're in a construction project. So all those regulations are here in this book, and needs to be your project needs to be in compliance with that. In case of the inspector shows, that's the inspector is going to be checking out. Everything is on this book. You have any question about this, about the content of this book? Please don't hesitate to call me. I can give you a general idea how you need to train your workers on this act. It's mandatory. It's not the same as the John Health and Safety Committee's Part 1 or Part 2. No, it's different training. This is it's the training that you need to provide to managers, supervisors, and, like I said, other people who manage projects or have workers under the scope. Yeah, give me a call. I can help you with the training. I can give you an advice how to proceed with this training if you want to create by yourself and provide it to your workers. And if you are an owner of a business, well, you need to get familiarized with this as well, and I can help you how to do that. In this slide, you have my email, And all you can visit my webpage at pharma-chemicalsafety.com. Thank you very much. Hopefully this content of this post help you to have more tools and more knowledge to perform your job as a professional engineer or as another as a professional in your industry. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye.